Khan Caniple was never supposed to be this guy. At Duke, he was seen as the second option behind Cooper Flagg. Scouts called him a glue guy. Analysts called him the connector. Front offices framed him as the perfect role player, the kind of piece that you surround stars with to make everything work. Now honestly, none of those labels were an insult. They sounded smart. They sounded safe. They sounded like the kind of language basketball people love to use when they want to feel correct.
That young man, Khan Caniple, yes sir, is flat out balling.
But everybody missed the point. Khan isn't just a player to support a system. He's building the foundation to become the system himself. Now while other rookies chase highlights and just trying to get pure buckets, Khan is very much invested in team basketball. He's mastered spacing, he understands timing, he knows how to make the right decision in every single possession. Then he's got size, great shooting, and excellent basketball IQ. Add in the ridiculous efficiency, and you have a player that feels much older than his age. Those are the traits that have allowed him to make such a positive impact for the Charlotte Hornets. He was drafted 4th overall in 2025, and now he's helping a franchise that honestly needed a lot of help. He's looking like a future franchise cornerstone, and it's just his rookie year. For a player who was scouted as below average in terms of athleticism, with questions around his defensive work, he's looking quite comfortable, and he's looked this comfortable from day one. So the question is, what makes this white man so special? Now before the NBA hype, Khan was already a legend back home. He dominated Wisconsin high school basketball, winning Mr. Basketball with absurd numbers. I mean, the guy was averaging 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. Still, he entered college as a 4.5-star prospect. He was respected, but he wasn't treated like some generational name. That started to change at Duke. Playing next to Cooper Flagg meant living inside a spotlight that wasn't really his. Flagg was the headline. He was the one talked about, the gravitational center of the offense. Everybody played around him. Now Khan, he embraced that role without really any hesitation. He wasn't chasing shots or forcing them up. He just did his part within the system that was already working. Coaches really trusted him because he's the type of player who's never going to break the structure. And then his teammates trusted him because he made the right read more often than not. That environment shaped how scouts described him. He was seen as a safe pick, someone with a high floor. Even Cooper Flagg said before the draft that wherever Khan goes, he was going to be great.
I mean, that's my brother for life, and I got really high praise for him and what he can do.
And that reliability ended up being the trait that translated fast once he hit the NBA. So when Khan arrived in Charlotte, the franchise wasn't exactly stable. The Hornets were coming off of years of inconsistency. They've had so much roster turnover, and they were in a desperate search for an identity. The expectations were low, so Khan's development was supposed to be slow. Instead, the kid made an impression right away. Teammates noticed his shooting and his basketball IQ, but they also noticed parts of his game that the scouts really underestimated. LaMelo has joked about being surprised by Khan's bounce. Everybody expected a stationary shooter, just a guy who can only shoot threes. What they got instead was someone who can attack space, someone who can dunk in traffic, and play with a lot of confidence with the ball in his hands. That early reaction allowed him to flip the perception around him immediately. Khan wasn't just a floor spacer. He's not Kyle Korver. He's somebody who can be a functional offensive engine, and that reality is now impossible to ignore. You have former players and veterans even talking about him. Jeff Teague compared Khan's game to Austin Reeves, someone who plays with smart pace, has great control without elite athleticism, and a mature shot selection. Basically the opposite of Green on the Phoenix Suns. Chandler Parsons even called him a robot, someone you can drop into any system and immediately improves the team's floor. He even got praise from Mr. Strip Club himself, James Harden, and even Giannis said that Khan Caniple was the smartest rookie he had seen.
You're probably one of the smartest rookies I've ever seen. But you're probably one of the most intelligent players that I've seen as a rookie. Like the way how you're coming out, like usually guys try to figure out how to play. Because the NBA in college or Europe is totally different. But you already got it, you're only going to get better.
This all made sense because Khan's first 10 games were historic. 150 plus points, 30 plus threes, multiple 20-point streaks that made him one of the fastest rookies ever to reach certain shooting milestones. And these weren't empty stats either because Charlotte was actually winning games. That's why everybody talking about him spoke so positively. Khan was no longer a project. He was someone already creating problems for defenses. One of the most telling reactions around Khan came from Bobby Portis. He admitted that if you saw Khan off the court, you would think he's a wealth manager or he sells insurance. Nothing about his demeanor screams NBA superstar. But once the game starts, Portis pointed out how Khan touches the paint, how he makes the extra pass, how he relocates to the three-point line to get a better shot. He's always involved in every possession. He also doesn't stand still after creating an advantage. He moves again. He's constantly forcing defenders to keep adjusting. That relocation skill is very rare for young players. It's something that you only really see Steph Curry master, and yet it's already a part of why Khan's offense is so good. He's not just reacting to plays, he's moving within the flow of the offense. Reggie Miller took the hype even further. He didn't just say that Khan should be leading the Rookie of the Year race, he hinted that Khan's early three-point pace could eventually challenge historical records. Now we will have to see about that, but Khan has entered a modern NBA built around spacing and high volume shooting from the perimeter. He arrived earlier than Curry did, and he's fired immediately. What makes his shooting so special isn't just the volume, it's his decision making behind it. He rarely forces shots outside of rhythm of the offense. He's never looking to play hero ball, and he understands when to attack the rim versus when to just chuck it up. That balance is really important because sometimes players get too one-dimensional. They either only drive to the basket or they only shoot threes. Khan is showing that he actually has multiple levels to his scoring. Now, one of the biggest knocks on Khan during the draft process was his athletic testing. His lane agility numbers ranked near the bottom of his class. Some scouts assumed that playoff defenses would target him relentlessly. Because remember, in the NBA, the athletic gap closes fast. Everybody's strong, everybody can run, everybody can jump. So after a while, the thing that separates players isn't just who's the best athlete, it's also who sees the game a beat earlier than everyone else. And that's where Khan steps in. Yes, he's not Anthony Edwards. He's not gonna bully guys or just blow by them, but he's got excellent timing. He reads where the help defender is leaning. He understands when a rotation is late, and he slides into space before it's even been open. That's why he's able to win possessions with his basketball IQ. Now, many of these plays won't always make the highlight reels, but they change the possessions. And that's the key with Khan. He very much lives where the small mistakes happen. One wrong step, one late closeout, and he's gone. He turns that opportunity into a clean look. It might be a quick swing pass, a driving kick, a relocation to the corner, or just a very calm reset. But it's always something that stops the offense from turning into a bad shot. When the game speeds up, guys like Khan become even more valuable because thinking fast matters way more than who can jump the highest. If you really want to understand his impact, you have to watch just him on certain plays that Charlotte run. Because most people, they look for the obvious stuff. What kind of flashy pass is LaMelo doing? What kind of dunk is Brandon Miller doing? But Khan's game is not like that. You have to watch the possession before the assist, before the high flying dunk. You have to see how he shifts his spacing just enough to pull a defender out. Watch how he keeps the offense going instead of stalling till the last second of the shot clock. What he's doing is more elite than a typical role guy. He's more than just a connector because he does all these little things, but don't get it twisted, he's also had flashy moments of his own. And that's why his rise in Charlotte doesn't feel like an overnight transformation. This guy's been doing this for years. He's always had the foundation. But now it looks a lot better because Charlotte sucked before, and now they look like a very exciting team. It's good to see people appreciating him as well because his numbers and the box score don't always reflect what Caniple brings to a team. Now, the big question around him is what happens in the playoffs, because that's where every weakness gets hunted. Now, first we have to see if the Hornets will even make the playoffs, but there's a good chance they can through the play-in tournament. In the playoffs, the game gets more physical. The rotations tighten. Teams game plan like you're the only thing they've watched all week, because you are. It's not an 82 game regular season anymore. You're playing one team for like 2 weeks. Now, Khan isn't built on explosive athleticism, and that's fine, because playoff basketball isn't just about highlights. We've seen a lot of super athletic players crumble in the postseason. The playoffs are more about limiting your mistakes, making the right reads under pressure, and not giving opponents easy buckets. Luckily for Charlotte, those are all the things that Khan does really well. His next steps in his development are pretty straightforward. He's gonna finish stronger through contact so teams can't bump him off his spots. He needs to add a reliable pull-up so defenders can't just sit on the drive or the kickout. And he needs to keep sharpening the things that already separate him from all the other rookies. If he levels up those pieces, He's no longer going to be seen as a really good role player, and he's going to start becoming a guy that teams actually have to plan around. Because even his defensive ratings have gone surprisingly better. Now, he isn't some lockdown defender, but he stays in position, he reads rotations early, and he competes. Because remember, defense in the NBA isn't all about speed. It's also about how your team defends as a whole, and it's also about anticipation and discipline. What makes Khan's rookie year feel so different is the shift in responsibility. At Duke, he was optimized to support a superstar. In Charlotte, it almost feels like he's starting to shape the offense himself, even with talented players like LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller around him. There's many times where he's initiating the actions, where he's driving and kicking like he's the guard, where he's controlling the pace without needing to dominate the ball. This transition is great to see. It's been subtle, but so impactful, because the Hornets didn't suddenly get good because of Khan's scoring, but as a whole, they've become more organized. And when you have good players like Khan who make the right reads, it's contagious. Automatically, every other player starts to make that extra pass. They start to be more calm under pressure. Khan is the type of player that reduces chaos, and that's why his teammates trust him. And that's why analysts are starting to talk about him as a real long-term piece for the Hornets.
And Khan Caniple, you mentioned, Chiney, about one of the best shooting rookies we've ever seen. We've actually never seen a rookie shoot threes like this. I know that we're in an era where there's more threes happening, but he is as good percentage-wise as Steph was as a rookie, and he's making twice as many threes per game.
Because he really does raise the floor. He forces defenders into uncomfortable situations. He can make a lot of threes at a high volume, and that versatility is so rare. It's rare in general, but especially for a rookie, and especially for someone who was never projected as a primary creator or a go-to guy on offense. It also explains why the Hornets front office seems ready to build around him. So where does he go from here? Like I said, he still has a lot of areas to improve, his physical strength, his defensive versatility, but it's very clear that this isn't some fluke rookie run. He has the blueprint to become a star in this league. He can easily be the face of the Charlotte Hornets going forward. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you will love this one too, on how good the rest of the Hornets have gone around Khan. Check it out right here.